So you're hiding $300,000. I could have used that money to buy a house someday. But Arabella, my mother-in-law, beat me to it, buying a house without even telling me. When I confronted Patrick about it, he brushed it off, saying, "Let mom do what she wants. Just forget about it." He started taking her side, which infuriated me beyond measure. I couldn't forgive either of them. My name is Kathy, and I married Patrick, who works at the same food company, 5 years ago. Our busy work schedules leave little time for us as a couple, but we generally get along without any major conflicts. However, my relationship with Arabella, my mother-in-law, has never been smooth. It all began during a family gathering at her house, where she casually remarked, "Now that you're married to Patrick, you'll quit your job and become a housewife to support him, right?" I calmly replied, "No, I plan to continue working after marriage. Patrick and I have discussed it, and he supports my decision." Arabella seemed taken aback and countered, "Isn't it normal for a wife to become a housewife after marriage? That's what I did when I married my late husband." This comment marked the beginning of our strained relationship, which only worsened over time. Pondered silently how antiquated it was to expect a wife to be a housewife while the husband earns. Naturally, I couldn't voice this to Arabella, so I simply offered a polite smile and brushed off her comment. "Are you sure Patrick agrees with you working? If you're not home because of work, it will just add to his burden when he's tired," she persisted. I replied calmly, "That's mom's perspective, not Patrick's. He supports my decision, so let Kathy do as she likes." Patrick intervened in my defense, saying, "Mom, I'm fine with it. Let Kathy make her own choices." After that, Arabella ceased her snide remarks, and we soon departed from her house. "Thank you for stepping in back there. If you hadn't," Arabella might have continued. I expressed my gratitude. Patrick replied reassuringly, "Mom has raised me alone since Dad passed away. She's probably just concerned. Don't take it too hard." His defense and understanding touched me deeply. I felt fortunate to be married to such a caring person. As we headed back to our condominium, I secretly felt a sense of contentment. Though we had been living together for 5 years, Patrick surprised me one day by suggesting Arabella move in with us. Hey, considering how busy we both are with work, I thought maybe Mom could live with us in the condo. I hesitated, replying honestly, "I'm not sure about that idea." Patrick immediately understood, saying, "I see. Sorry for bringing it up so suddenly. Forget I mentioned it." I absolutely couldn't agree to the idea of suddenly living together. Thankfully, Patrick acquiesced easily, and I felt relieved that we wouldn't be sharing our space with Arabella. About a week after Patrick had brought up the idea, I had a particularly hectic day at work and didn't return to our condominium until after 9:00 p.m. I'm so tired. Maybe I should whip up something for dinner, I muttered to myself as I reached for the doorknob, only to find it already unlocked. Patrick must have gotten home earlier than usual today. Normally, he texts me when leaving work, but it seemed he'd forgotten this time. Without much thought, I entered the apartment. Whoa a day. "Oh, you're back," a voice greeted me unexpectedly. "Huh? Arabella, you're here. Where's Patrick?" I asked, bewildered. "Patrick hasn't returned yet. He gave me a spare key, so I let myself in," she explained casually. "A spare key? I had no idea," I stammered, taken aback by her sudden presence, unable to conceal my surprise. "Stop standing there. Can you make dinner? I've been waiting for you to get home," Arabella demanded as soon as I entered. "Ha, Arabella, haven't you eaten dinner yet?" I asked, surprised. "No, I haven't. It's quite audacious to barge into someone's home and expect dinner," I thought to myself, but couldn't bring myself to rudely send her away. "Ah, I see. Okay, I'll make something simple. Is that okay?" "Just a moment. Are some groceries missing? Did I use that much?" I wondered aloud, noticing the fridge seemed emptier than yesterday. "Anything simple will do. Just hurry up, dear. I'm famished," Arabella insisted. "Please wait a moment. I'll whip something up quickly," I replied, rushing to prepare dinner for her. "Thank you. Let's see how it tastes," Arabella commented after tasting the soup I had made. "What is this? It's terrible." "Ha! What did she just say? Did she really call my soup terrible?" I thought in disbelief. "I said it's terrible. Did you not hear me?" Arabella repeated sharply. "I heard you. It wasn't a misunderstanding," I responded firmly, trying to keep my composure. "You're always so busy with work. That's why you can only manage to cook this kind of meal." You should quit your job and become a proper housewife. Arabella continued, her resentment clear. But Patrick always tells me he loves my cooking. Perhaps he's just trying to please you. Can't you see that? I retorted, feeling frustrated by her persistent criticism. Arabella continued to make snide remarks for about an hour, expressing her disapproval of my decision to work after marriage. I'll be dropping by occasionally. Make sure you keep the house in order, she concluded before finally leaving. After venting her frustrations, Arabella left my home seemingly relieved. 30 minutes later, Patrick arrived. Hey, did you give Arabella a spare key? I asked. Yeah, I did. Patrick confirmed. Why? I questioned, feeling exasperated. She showed up out of nowhere today, complained about the food I made for her, and then left. It's all right. These things happen, Patrick replied calmly. What kind of response is that? She comes unannounced. It's ridiculous, I retorted. I don't know what else to say. Maybe it was a mistake giving her the key, Patrick admitted. Exactly, and now I'm supposed to tolerate her criticism about the meal I prepared? I exclaimed. This all happened because you gave her that spare key. My words seemed to strike a nerve with Patrick, who suddenly grew angry. Maybe you should have just agreed to have Mom live with us. I'm tired. I'm going to bed. I don't need dinner, he snapped. Am I to blame? Wasn't it you who agreed it was a bad idea? I shot back, feeling hurt by Patrick's unexpected reaction. The following day, and every day after that, Arabella continued to visit our home, criticizing everything from cleanliness to laundry. Enduring her daily complaints might have been bearable on its own. However, a week into Arabella's frequent visits, I noticed something odd. The groceries are disappearing again, and the detergent I had stocked up on is gone too, I remarked, puzzled by the sudden disappearance of household items. Our condominium and Arabella's place were just a 10-minute walk apart. It seemed strange that groceries and everyday essentials were disappearing daily. Reluctantly, I began to suspect Arabella might be sneaking in and taking them. Arabella, have you been taking things from our house? I finally mustered the courage to ask one day when she came over. I hoped it was all a misunderstanding, but her response dashed that hope. Oh, so you found out, Arabella admitted nonchalantly. You can't just take things without asking. These are household supplies and food, I protested. What's the harm? It's my son's house, after all. It's wasteful to let food spoil, especially since you're hardly ever home because of work, she justified, unapologetic. I was taken aback by her audacity. While I understood this was also Patrick's home, her actions felt intrusive and disrespectful. Oh, by the way, I found out about your $300,000 in savings, Arabella continued casually. What? What are you talking about? I have no idea, I exclaimed, shocked by her revelation. You found it on my banking card. I saw the amount when I checked it. You can withdraw money with just the card, right? She asked, as if it was a perfectly reasonable thing to do. Do you know the PIN? You had it written on a note stuck to your banking card, remember? Arabella remarked casually. I messed up. I never thought anyone would look at my banking card, so I was careless, I admitted, feeling shocked and betrayed. That's right, I found the note with the PIN on it, Arabella confirmed, almost amused. I've been wanting to live in a nicer house. This worked out perfectly, she added with a laugh before leaving my house. I couldn't forgive what had happened, Arabella using my money like that to buy a house without my permission. When I confronted Patrick about it, his response was dismissive. Just let Mom do what she wants. Forget about the $300,000, he said casually, as if it were inconsequential that such a large sum had been taken without consent. This mother and son duo are unbelievable, I fumed. At that moment, any remaining affection I had for Patrick evaporated. Feeling deeply betrayed and taken advantage of, I decided it was time to take revenge on both of them. The next day, I invited Arabella over again to confirm if she had indeed used my money to buy a house. Determined to gather solid evidence, I discreetly started the voice recorder on my phone before confronting her. Yesterday, you mentioned using $300,000 for my banking card to buy a new house. Is that true? I asked directly. Yes, it's true. I've already paid the down payment and construction has begun. With your banking card, it's essentially mine, Arabella admitted without hesitation. But having the banking card doesn't mean anything. How do you plan to withdraw the money? I asked Arabella, trying to maintain my composure. Just by pretending to be you and signing? Of course, she replied with a smirk. Arabella, that's illegal. It's theft, I protested, shocked by her brazen admission. Call it what you want. Who would have thought you, who can't even manage household chores properly, had saved up so much? At least you're good for something. That's all. You can have the banking card back. Thanks for having me over today, she said dismissively, brushing off my concerns. I was seething with anger, tempted to grab the card back forcefully, but I held myself back and let her leave. Despite my frustration, I had managed to gather evidence of Arabella taking the banking card from my house. Enjoy it while you can, Arabella, I muttered under my breath. The following day, I called Arabella, devising a plan to lure her back to my house under the guise of settling the issue. Arabella, you can keep the banking card, but you'll need my identification to withdraw any money. I'll handle the withdrawal for you. Can I hold onto the banking card for now? I asked, feigning cooperation. Oh, I didn't realize that. I'll bring you right over. Thanks, Arabella replied eagerly. I informed her of this over the phone, but I had no intention of actually withdrawing $300,000. In this day and age, withdrawing such a large sum without proper identification is impossible. How could she be so naive? She was solely focused on quick money with no regard for the fact that her actions were criminal. Once I retrieved the banking card from Arabella, I wasted no time heading to the police station. I need to report a crime, I said firmly as soon as I arrived. Yes, my mother-in-law took my banking card without permission and was trying to use it to purchase a new house. I explained to the police officer. Wait, not you purchasing. No, not me. My banking card was stolen. I would like to file a report, I clarified firmly. The police listened attentively, understanding the seriousness of the situation, and accepted my report. Later that evening, I informed Patrick that I had filed a report with the police. I told the police about Arabella stealing my banking card. She might get arrested soon. I informed him. What? Why would Mom get arrested by the police? Patrick reacted with surprise. Don't you understand that what Arabella is doing is a serious crime? I responded, frustrated by his lack of concern. Even so, did you have to involve the police? It's pointless talking to you. You always say we should let your mom do as she pleases. Why should I just hand over a large sum of money to her? Patrick countered defensively. How can you speak of your mother-in-law like that? I shot back, hurt by his dismissive tone. Just because she's my mother-in-law, does that mean she can do anything? If she tried to harm me, should I just accept it quietly? It's absurd. I didn't save up all this time just to hand it over to Bella, I exclaimed in frustration. Well, she's enough of an old hag for sure, Patrick retorted sharply. Hearing his harsh words, I was taken aback. Patrick stormed off to his room. When he returned to the living room, he threw his divorce papers at me. I never expected you to say something like that. Sign this, he demanded, his tone cutting through the air. I never imagined. You always had these papers ready, I responded quietly, stunned by his sudden reaction. Well, if that's how you feel, then so be it. I'm tired of this anyway, being threatened, I said, my voice trembling slightly as I reached for the papers. Patrick seemed surprised by my swift agreement. After signing the papers, I handed them back to him, silently displaying the divorce agreement. Here, this is what you wanted, right? I handed Patrick the signed divorce papers with a mix of resignation and sadness. Yes, Patrick replied quietly. Then I'll file these, I said, trying to keep my voice steady despite the ache in my chest. He took the papers without another word, his expression unreadable. After our brief exchange, he hurriedly left the house in the middle of the night. I suspected he went to Arabella's house. 20 minutes later, my phone rang. Hello. What do you want? I answered tersely, not hiding my frustration. It was Patrick on the other end. I told Mom about the police report Kathy filed. Patrick said, his voice tense. Yes, so, I replied sharply, unsure where this conversation was headed. Can you withdraw the report, please? Patrick requested, his tone pleading. What? No way? There's no chance I'm withdrawing it, I exclaimed firmly, resolute in my decision. Regretting it now, fake remorse doesn't change anything. She would do the same thing again, I muttered to myself, feeling betrayed and angry. As expected, Patrick called again shortly after. What now? I don't have anything else to say to you, and I was just about to go to bed, I said wearily, tired of the drama. I'm sorry, I didn't mean any harm, the voice on the other end said softly. It wasn't Patrick, it was Arabella. She was crying and apologizing. But did she really think that would make everything okay? Just because you're crying and apologizing doesn't mean I'm going to forgive you, I retorted, unmoved by her emotional display. And how can you say you didn't mean any harm? You deliberately took my banking card. I continued, frustration evident in my voice. But I really wanted a house. I've been living in an apartment all this time, so you thought it was okay to use someone else's money for that reason. You're really despicable, I added, feeling the weight of her actions. Why should I give my money for such a trivial reason of hers? It's completely incomprehensible, I concluded, disbelief and anger coloring my words. Then you should have asked your son, I replied firmly. My son doesn't have the money. Arabella countered defensively. Yes, I know. Despite our dual income, I manage our household finances. That's why when I saw the $300,000 in your banking card, I was tempted, Arabella confessed. I see. But understanding isn't enough, you realize? I emphasized sternly. Please reflect on your actions in prison. That money was hard-earned long before I married your son. Forgiving you just because you were tempted is unthinkable, I continued, my voice growing colder. I was about to end the call, but Arabella persisted. Wait, I have a request, she pleaded. A request? That's audacious, I remarked skeptically. I already paid the down payment as I mentioned. I used $100,000 of my savings. I can halt construction now. Could you lend me the remaining $300,000? I promise to repay, Arabella proposed desperately. How delusional are you? There's no way I would lend you that money. You not only stole a banking card but also groceries and daily supplies. I can't trust you to repay, I responded firmly, ending the conversation decisively. But what should I do? That's not my problem, Arabella's voice pleaded through the phone. You figure it out, but I can't get a loan at my age, I replied sternly. That's entirely your fault for relying on someone else's money. Ask your son to take out a loan for you, I retorted, a hint of amusement creeping into my voice at Arabella's predicament. I couldn't help but chuckle at the thought of Arabella's panic. I've said everything there is to say. Maybe it's time to hang up the phone now, I stated firmly, ready to end the conversation. Just as I was about to disconnect, Patrick interjected, attempting to continue the conversation. Hey, please, are you going to abandon Mom? Didn't she take care of you? Think of it as repaying a favor, Patrick pleaded desperately. She never took care of me. She always came to my house just to make snide remarks and never helped with housework despite having a spare key. On what basis are you saying she took care of me? I countered sharply, frustration and resentment evident in my voice. Patrick fell silent, unable to respond to my accusation. He spoke out of desperation. Perhaps he hoped appealing to my emotions would convince me to provide assistance. I mused aloud. Well, that's how it is. I won't be providing any assistance. Good luck, I concluded firmly, ending any hope of reconciliation. Wait, I'll handle Mom's situation, and I won't trouble Kathy anymore. So please, can we reconsider the divorce? Patrick pleaded one last time, desperation coloring his voice. It's too late now. Arabella is more important to you than me, right? I stated bitterly, my heart heavy with disappointment and hurt. I'm truly sorry. I'll value you, Kathy, more from now on. You don't need to bother about me anymore. We'll be strangers by tomorrow, Patrick's voice pleaded through the phone. Enjoy your life with your beloved Arabella, I replied calmly before hanging up. Concerned he might call again, I turned off my mobile and went to bed. Patrick didn't return home that night. They were likely consoling each other. The next morning, I took a day off work to file the divorce papers. Patrick and I were now strangers. Arabella's fate was no longer my concern. For the 3 days before I left our home, Patrick barely spoke to me. I didn't initiate conversation either. Planning to move back to my parents' house, despite the hour-long commute to work, I packed up my belongings. As I left, Patrick said just one thing. I'm sorry for everything up till now. Ignoring him, I walked away. It was a stark end to a once-loving marriage. Strangely, I didn't feel sad. I felt relieved to be free from such a toxic mother and son. I can't forgive them after everything. They brought this upon themselves, neglecting and defending Arabella. If Patrick had stood up to her when she stole my banking card, maybe things could have been different. They underestimated me. I wasn't going to be continually wronged. Now they face the consequences of their actions, working to repay their debts. It's their own doing, their karma, I reflected as I drove to my parents' house. A week later, the police called to inform me of Arabella's arrest for theft. Not living with Arabella played a crucial role in her arrest. If you had been living together, it might have complicated things due to the familial nature of the theft. I understand. I'm grateful she was apprehended. Thank you, I responded, relieved by the news. Now Arabella will have time to reflect on her crimes, I thought. Just then, Patrick called. Mom has been arrested, he stated solemnly. I know, the police informed me. I can't manage the loan payments alone now that Mom's gone, Patrick admitted. So what? You're not asking me for help again, are you? I replied firmly. No, I mean, please don't call me again, Patrick faltered. I ended the call and blocked his number to avoid further contact. A month later, I heard from a colleague. Hey, did you hear? Patrick quit the company. Though we worked at the same place, we rarely crossed paths. The news of Arabella's theft and arrest had spread, making it untenable for him to stay. I didn't spread the news, I assured my colleague. I don't know what happened to him after that, but he must be struggling with the loan repayments, my colleague remarked. 3 years later, I found happiness again. I married someone who cherished me deeply, and my new in-laws welcomed me with love. Finally, I felt genuine happiness. I hope nothing like this ever happens again, I whispered, grateful for the peace and love in my life now.